What's going on, A to Z Sports? It is Thursday morning, Thursday, November 7th. I'm Sam Phelan along with Easton Freeze. Going to have a great show for you guys this morning with a little bit of Will Levis talk. Brian Callahan spoke to the media yesterday. Spoke to the media Monday as well. Both times providing an update on his quarterback situation and quarterback Will Levis. So Levis missed some time with the shoulder injury. We'll get an update from the head coach on whether or not he might play this week. And then just kind of a big picture conversation that I feel like is long overdue as Easton and I try and get into what Will Levis's future looks like with the Titans and this idea that it's now or never for the quarterback to prove himself. So it's going to be a great show. Thanks you guys for joining. Hit a thumbs up button and like the show. And Easton, why don't you tell the folks what to do before we get started this morning?
Yeah, you said it, man. You got to like the show. It's Easton and Sam back by popular demand this morning. Happy to be here with all of you guys that are with us live. Good morning to you all. Do us a big favor. It's so easy. Just like that show for us. That is your ticket in the door this morning. Hit that thumbs up button on Facebook, on YouTube. Like the show, and then jump into the comments like Rooney, Andre, American Toff, Jonathan, Daniel, Karen, Steve, John, and others already have. We want to hear from you guys this morning. We got an interesting conversation, I think, once again. Maybe a little bit of debate for you this morning on maybe what it takes for there to be a future for Will Levis here in Tennessee. So going to be a good one.
All right. Sorry, I'm catching up on the chat a little bit. Chat's a little bit surprised to see me this morning. I've had to do this, pinch myself, make sure I'm alive and breathing. I didn't think I'd make it through last night, but we are here. We're ready to go. So let's get into it. Let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Sam Phelan. He's Easton Freeze, and this is A to Z Sports, Nashville's on-demand sports talk network. Going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. You can also check out TikTok, Instagram, Threads, more Titans content and A2ZSports.com as well for written Titans content that Easton and I are churning out every day. Got to thank our sponsors this morning. They make it happen for us while helping out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans, better rates, better coverage, better service. Learn more about a plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Boneandjointtn.org is where to go for them and be part of the solution to end littering with TDOT. Nobody trashes Tennessee.com. So Easton, it's a Will Levis show today because the Titans quarterback has been MIA for quite some time now. We had the injury, of course, suffered on Monday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins, which at the time seemed like it would be small and just kind of like a minor setback that maybe kept him out of one game. Obviously, that has not been the case because the Titans and Will Levis himself sort of mismanaged this injury. The Titans coaching staff didn't do a good enough job of protecting their quarterback from himself. Levis probably not entirely honest with how he was feeling. He goes out, plays against the Colts, ends up doing more damage to his shoulder, let's be honest, because the things that he's done in the week since have been less than he was doing leading up to that Colts game. And now it has been time to be ultra cautious with Levis. And if he's not 100%, he's not going, and it's going to be Mason Rudolph. And Easton, I think you and I are on the same page when we say that, one, that is the right call for the Titans coaching staff at this time. And two, they're doing that because once Will Levis goes back in, once he starts, which we'll get into whether or not that'll be this week, but once Will Levis is back in under center, it's now or never. It is go time, and it is his proverbial last shot here with Tennessee. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. They want him back, and once he's back, they're going to play him the rest of the year. And, this is a team that at 2-6 could be poised to replace him with haste as soon as the season is over and we get to the draft season. So it is now or never. And I do hope people understand that first part of what you said, the idea that they have been ultra cautious. They've erred on the side of caution. I had some folks ask me last week and since this past game, how close is Will Levis? Could he have gone last week? It kind of seemed like, they were running in practice. Maybe he had a shot. My understanding is that he could have gone last week if the situation necessitated that. If like he was an awesome starting quarterback and it was a game they had to have kind of deal. If he was Josh Allen in a divisional game to decide the AFC East, he would have been playing in that game. He was healthy enough to play in that game.
Josh Allen in like a random week 4 game against the Texans that he just needs to like.
Maybe if he was just Josh Allen, he would have been playing in that game, right? Exactly. So he really is close, and this coaching staff is tentatively planning on this being the week. Today and tomorrow, a big deal because yesterday was the first serious load of practice for him on his arm and on his shoulder. We saw him out there at practice. So actually, I think it was just me, Sam. Unfortunately, you didn't miss anything. I guess fortunately, you didn't miss anything because his arm still works. We don't get to see much, and he has been medically cleared to throw slants, so that's cool. Good for him. Other than that, I can't give you any more info.
Yeah, I mean they're doing things in practice. It's a normal practice, at least for what we see. The things that the Titans coaching staff have talked about doing, which is, pushing Will even harder than they typically would to ensure that he's able to make all the throws. Those are not things that happen in front of media eyes. And,
nope.
Before the Colts game, we went out there and saw Will Levis, and I said, yep, he's playing. Like, yeah, he's making throws 15 yards out. He's making good throws, but
arm still works.
That didn't exactly simulate what the Titans coaching staff was going to require of him in order for him to be good enough to go in the game. So we don't know what it's looked like when we get kicked out of there and we're not able to watch the rest of it anymore. But you are right. The update that has been pretty consistent, and we'll go to Brian Callahan here, has been that it's more optimistic than I feel like the tone of these updates has been in the past.
His reps should uptick. We're trying to get him back rolling, and hopeful that that's sooner than later here. And he'll probably take a little bit more to keep sharp. I think Mason still needs to be ready to play, and he'll still take some reps. But I'd like to increase Will's workload this week, certainly.
That was Brian Callahan talking about just how he's going to divide reps at quarterback. And Easton, the past couple of weeks, it's been a lot of, we'll get Will in there. We'll see what he's capable of. We'll see how he feels. And they wanted to keep Mason Rudolph ready. It certainly feels like now this is starting to shift back towards Will Levis playing on Sunday.
Yeah.
Is that where you're currently leaning?
Yeah, absolutely. And last week, I was told that they split 50-50 the starter reps, Mason Rudolph and Will Levis. This week, as alluded to in that video, that won't be the case. Will get the majority of the starter reps, assuming that there's no setbacks today or tomorrow. And I am thinking that, again, the messaging I got last week when I was asking, is he going to play against New England? It wasn't just no. It was probably needs another week, probably needs one more week. And so I think that this has been the plan for a little bit, that his return would be against the Chargers in LA. Just talking to him, I think you and I can surmise he wants to go. He's ready to go. This guy's sick and tired of not playing. It's been a month and a half, and we've seen one lousy game from him. Otherwise, he's been on the bench. So I know he's ready to get out there.
Yeah, he's definitely itching to play. It is a shame that he wasn't able to go against New England, because I think, we were on the same page, and pretty much anybody would tell you the one thing they were hoping for Will Levis is that you can come back into like a win, come back and win
spot. Yeah.
Right. Like go play New England. And granted, it's a pretty like good defense, but like, so were the Chargers, and newsflash. Yeah. Where is it? Yeah, we got a lot of tough defenses coming up.
Sure. Brian Flores, not known for taking it easy on quarterbacks,
is also a very good defense. So I'm not sure there's like a soft landing spot here for Will Levis. It would have been nice if he comes back, gets a win against New England, and maybe they can go and, upset the Chargers on the road, but it's certainly big underdog game. It's best for Will Levis to play, and it's best for him to be out there. But I am curious about what's best for everybody else. And so that's kind of like our first question we can go ahead and get into. We got 2 rapid fire ones, but let's start simple. What's best for the Titans fan base at this, juncture of the season? What is best for the Titans fan base? Will Levis starts or Will Levis sits? Curious to see what you think, see what the chat thinks. And before we get to those answers, going to tell you all about what's best for Tennessee. And that is our friends over at T-Dot, be part of the solution to end littering. Did you know that there's over 88 million pieces of litter on Tennessee's roadways right now? It's a big problem, and we can all be part of the solution. T-Dot spends over $23 million each year cleaning up litter, and they can't do it alone. You can help by making simple changes, by stopping littering, picking up litter when you see it, and joining local cleanups. Every action counts. Tennessee needs all of us to step up. So be part of the solution today and help keep Tennessee beautiful. Visit NobodyTrashesTennessee.com to get involved and see how you can make a difference.
We're also brought to you by BetMGM, an official partner of the Tennessee Titans. Sign up today using our bonus code ATOZ Sports and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win on your first bet. Whether you're cheering on the Titans at the stadium or watching the game at your favorite Music City sports bar, you're always going to be able to get in on the action because that BetMGM app is right in the palm of your hand. There's nothing better than a Titans win. There's nothing like the thrill of winning at BetMGM. Enjoy the best parlay selection options, boosted odds specials, daily promotions, and so much more. Download the BetMGM app today. Sign up using our code ATOZ Sports and experience the football season like never before. BetMGM, an official partner of the Tennessee Titans.
All right, Easton, we asked the question, what's better for the Titans fan base, at this point in the season, if Will Levis sits or if Will Levis starts? What are you seeing from the chat?
Let's see here. Seeing a lot of Will Levis starting. The people have spoken. They want largely. Chris wants him to start. Steven wants him to start. Major wants him to start. Edward does not want him to, with the comment that I am not going to throw up on the screen here. But Bobby and Apollo and Bork, assuming that he's healthy. Linwood. Hashtag QJ. Top tier. Raz, Roger, Jody. I mean, we are in lockstep here. All but a couple of folks agree it's best for the people if Will Levis starts. And I agree as well. I mean, listen, 2-6 ball club. You honestly can just set the logistical future of this franchise aside and say, let's see some fireworks. Let's
quarterback, Mason Rudolph. Like it,
right.
Just excitement level, right? Like quarterback might throw 3 interceptions and be reckless.
Meme lord young quarterback.
But
come on,
there will be a meme coming out of it. And if
it's amazing.
Not a meme game, it's going to be like prime Josh Allen. Like it's literally going to be Josh Allen at his peak. When Will Levis is good, it's like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever witnessed before. Or it'll just be comedy.
Yeah,
Either way,
you can't lose.
Titans fans win.
Exactly. And then on a more serious note, obviously, you win long-term as a franchise by winning and losing by this guy. Mason Rudolph winning you some games does nothing for you. Like, what the Colts are trying to do, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and look, we talked. I do think it's a little bit different with the Colts. We talked about
just the sense that they're trying to get into the playoffs, right? That's
right.
The only difference.
No, I mean I think this is a different story though. If the Titans are, 4-5 right now, and and they're hanging around the play. I think if you had realistic playoff expectations coming into the year, and we're still in a position to get a playoff spot, and Levis was continuing to struggle while Rudolph was clearly your better option at quarterback, which is the scenario you've got going on in Indy right now, it would be very difficult to sell the fan base on we're not going to go for the playoffs because we're going to play. We're too stubborn to accept sunken cost.
I don't know if the backup is clearly the better option in Indy, but this is not a Colts show, so we can move on from that.
I think the offensive numbers would speak for itself there.
I mean, I don't know. I watched him on Sunday Night Football. I have like a 42% completion rating, and
tough game for him.
Complete one of 7 third downs. I saw him lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars earlier this season. I'm a Joe Flacco fan. I'm just saying. I don't know if it gets much better with this team.
Did you watch Anthony Richardson go like 8 for 30 passing the ball?
I actually watched that game instead of just look at the box score like most folks did. Yes, and he had a pretty decent game actually, if you watched it, but most folks didn't. So that's that.
No way. Wow, Easton
as many dropped passes as bad passes in that game. As many dropped dimes.
Popping in here on a Thursday morning to spread Anthony Richardson propaganda.
It's honestly just anti-Colts propaganda, to be 100% honest with you, because Anthony Richardson feels like a lost cause as much as I loved him coming out. But the Colts as an organization, listless, just making stuff up at this point. Bad organization, in my opinion. Don't know what they're doing.
Fair. I don't know if Anthony Richardson is exactly your spokesperson for look at all.
But again,
these,
it's not must play Anthony Richardson because he's good. It's must play Anthony Richardson because it's what you need to do for the future of your franchise. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
unless you've already decided he's not the future of your franchise, in which case,
lose with him so you can move on.
Jim Irsay does not have that much time left.
Yeah, that's called bad ownership.
Wants
You're
to make
describing
the
bad
offs,
ownership.
man. Hey, the
Bad
AFC's wide open. AFC's wide open.
I hope that the Colts earn the privilege to get beat 37-3 by the Bills in the first round of the playoffs with Joe Flacco. I'm sure that would be so exciting for them.
Joe Flacco would never let that happen. He's going to go beat Baltimore in Baltimore in the playoffs.
And then they'll have the 20th pick in the draft, and they won't know what to do. They'll be screwed for the future.
It'll be great. Be awesome. They are going to hang a banner. You're forgetting about the banner.
They might hang multiple banners.
There will be a AFC divisional round runner-up banner hung when they lose in the divisional round and they win the wild card game or wild card round.
Do you just hang a made playoffs with Flacco banner? Is that what you hang?
AFC 2024 AFC wild card round champs.
Yeah. No, but not champs because they're not going to win. So like participants.
No, they're going to win the one
AFC.
They'll win one playoff game, and then Flacco's good for one. Flacco's
they won't.
One, dude.
Not this year. Not this year. No, I mean, listen, I think Joe Flacco's maybe the best backup in the league, but
I don't know if they'll make the playoffs because I do think that
no, I don't think that they will.
The Chargers and Bengals are better teams than them. So I
love their internal theory that if you just switch out the quarterback, the defense suddenly becomes good. Same defense. They still blow.
It's good. No, that's great. That's sound logic, you know?
Yeah.
Joe Flacco will absolutely make that pass.
Gonna turn this defense into a contender.
Any impact. That secondary is really gonna lock dudes up because Joe Flacco.
They believe in Joe. Right, exactly.
Well, it's how does it shift things in the practice? We're off the rails. I'm moving on. Sorry about that.
Here we go. Back to the Titans.
I was gonna make another comment, and I'm just like, what are we doing?
We can't help but beat up on the Colts when we get the opportunity to.
No, Easton, I do agree with you. I think it's a pretty easy claim to make that playing Will Levis for the Titans is better for the fan base right now. It's more exciting, better for the long-term future of the franchise. You know, you went into the year saying we need to get answers about Will. This is how you get answers about Will with him playing. But I am curious about this one. And maybe the chat would not fully agree with this one. Maybe you won't fully agree with this one. What's better for the Titans coaching staff? Will Levis starts or Will Levis sits?
Yeah, this is
because we have now started to see the offense look better. Chat, hang with us because you point at the points and are like, they're not scoring enough points to be sitting and saying the offense looks better. But even in that Detroit game, Detroit, like so many yards gained, especially in the first half of that game in Detroit.
Outgained Detroit.
Yeah, outgained Detroit, which special teams, but
sure.
So many long drives in that
functional
New England
drives.
game. Sustained and functional drives is a great way, of saying it. They put up points in overtime and had a functional drive when they needed to. They won the turnover battle. It was just a cleaner game offensively. And this is something that I theorized maybe a month ago before the Titans had even sat Will Levis down of like, at some point, when does Brian Callahan need to prove his mettle with Mason Rudolph in there at quarterback? And if you can then build something with a different QB. And then there's also momentum, because momentum is a factor here where you're building something on offense that is, as we said, starting to look a little bit better and better and better. And Mason Rudolph and Will Levis are very different quarterbacks. You've unlocked Calvin Ridley the last 2 weeks, and now you're throwing Levis back in. So what's better for the Titans coaching staff if Levis sits or plays? I think we're already getting some interesting and different answers in the chat.
Yeah, let's see here. American Toff says it's best for the coaching staff if he is on the bench. Curtis agrees. He thinks sitting Will Levis is what is best for this coaching staff. Looking for anybody else to answer this question here. Start Rudolph, says Brandon. That's what the coaching staff needs to do. Keeps the sputtering momentum that they have on offense. Jody says that Callahan needs to run his playbook with Will. Doesn't want him to call a scared to lose style game. And then Roy, says, well, if Levis doesn't start, there's always the question of if they could coach him up, the theory of Will Levis on paper. So people are definitely on the other side of the coin.
Right? If you leave it open ended, you'd be like, if Will hadn't gotten hurt, we were. Which I mean, there could be something to say to that. I will say, and I hate doing this for a 2-6 football team, but before Levis got hurt in Miami, I felt he got better every game leading up to Miami, and then. Yeah, marginally better, but had improved, and the offense had been somewhat improved every game.
Sure.
Miami happens and he throws the interception, he gets hurt, it throws off everything about the Indy game, really killed your momentum. But is it entirely impossible for him to gain that back? Just Easton, your thoughts on this whole, I don't know, thought experiment here. What's better for the Titans coaching staff?
It's a tough one. I think that it is better for them to have him play because, as I know you believe, as do I, this team has more problems than just the quarterback. And I'm not sure that all of them, maybe not even many of them, are fixable this season. And I think a lot of their problems can be solved by just one more player acquisition cycle. And so I do think for the coaching staff, if you play the rest of the year with Levis, it's not necessarily a scapegoat situation, but it is something to where at the end of the season, where's the finger pointing? And if Levis doesn't play the rest of the year, and the offense, it continues to have moments and flashes, and they win a game here or there, but it's just still relatively sloppy, and you're just not quite sure. Then the finger is pointed squarely at the coaching staff, right? And they can say, well, we had a backup quarterback, but the Mason Rudolph experience is so boring and consistent that people may not care. If you've got Levis in the game, and that's what happens, and he continues to have the very up and down numbers that he's had this year, largely down, then you've got a little bit of an out there and say, well, what were we supposed to do? We were playing Will Levis at quarterback. We're trying to figure it out. As a coaching staff, Levis wasn't even he was not even our guy. We need to get our guy in here, and then you'll see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think this is better for the coaching staff if Will Levis plays. And I think it's a win-win for the coaching staff because Will Levis is either the quarterback that you coached up and developed into a really successful starter or the scapegoat for you to go get a different one. Right. And like you said, if it's inconsistent and it's bad and it's not what you want out of the quarterback position down the stretch, people are still going to blame Will Levis. You can still write it off as if you're Brian Callahan as, like you said, not my guy, not a guy that I drafted. Brian Callahan did pick Mason Rudolph, not as his starter, but this is a guy that he went out and signed when there were plenty of backup options out there that would have been interested in coming to Tennessee, and they had money to spend on a backup quarterback. He picked Mason Rudolph. If you go with Mason Rudolph, who, by the way, has had success elsewhere in other good offensive schemes and won games, and you can't win games with him, and it doesn't look good and it's boring, I do think you are more likely to have the finger pointed at you. And I can guarantee that because I do this show and I pay attention to what's going on in the chat. And I know that through the first 6 weeks of the season, everybody in this chat wanted Will Levis burned at the stake. Right. And over the last 3 weeks, everybody's wanted Brian Callahan burned at the stake and is not coming after Mason Rudolph because your expectations are, it's Mason Rudolph. Like, you know what you're getting. This is what you signed up for. So it's better for the Titans to either be a hero or a zero and not there's nothing else that no, I just did it in my brain. Wow, this is so good. Hang on, buckle up, Easton.
You're way too proud of yourself. You're overselling this. I can already tell. You're overselling it.
No, it's not. It's awesome.
All right, hit us with it. I'm ready.
Is either going to be a hero or a 0
Right.
because of Will Levis, but he will not be Nero.
You want to explain to the people what you mean by that?
Well, Nero is another word for the devil.
Right.
So he will not be demonized. He will not be villainized by playing Will Levis. He will be maybe a 0 where you go, I don't know. He didn't have a quarterback to do it. He might be a hero, but he's not going to be Nero. You're going to point at the other. That was a good that you didn't think of that. You didn't think of that.
You're right. I didn't think of that. That was all you, buddy.
That was all you. Smart for all of y'all. It went over your heads.
It's right. You're highfalutin, high class humor, Brandon. I mean, listen, is it technically clever? Yes.
Nick Suss is going to appreciate that one when I tell him.
This is a fair point. In an audience of one, you're killing it. Standing ovation from Nick Suss.
That's okay.
Flat, says Austin in the comments.
Okay. Don't you have something to do, Austin?
Yeah, Austin. There's a reason you're not here. What are you up to right now?
I'm pretty sure you're busy today.
He just wanted a day off. If you hadn't sold it the way you had, I think it would have gone over well. But you set the bar way too high. You got to be more like Mason Rudolph. Be like a guy that sets the bar real low. You can never disappoint. That's the way to go. But it sounds like, back on topic here, Easton was smart not to claim with any help on that. Yeah, I'm distancing myself. It seems like we all agree that it's best for literally everybody that Will Levis plays the rest of the year. And I just find that really funny because a month ago on this show, very different temperature to that conversation. Very, very, very different temperature to that conversation. It has, in a way, taken this past month of a lot of boring Mason Rudolph, some bad blowouts against the best teams in the league.
People want their memes back.
And yeah, that's right. People don't know what they have in the memes until they lose them. And so I'm glad we're at this point to where people are wanting him back. And I guess at this point, I'm just curious, assuming he comes back, how quickly does that change again?
Yeah. Well, and how quickly does it change again? And, Easton, if we are, as we talked about earlier, Brian Callahan pointing towards more optimism that Levis will play this week. And if it is now or never, what's it going to take?
Right.
What's it going to take? So we're going to go ahead and get into a question because I think this is the big Will Levis question that we have to, everybody, our next question, we're going to have to take notes. We're going to have to get everybody on the record of what they want to see because you can't change your answer after Sunday. This is going to be an all-in. You got to get ahead.
This is actually the deadline. Here. I think people didn't realize that, but November 7th is the deadline to come up with an answer to this question. So hope you're ready.
Correct. Before we do it, telling everybody about Farm Bureau health plans, better service, better rates, better coverage. Learn more about a plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. Farm Bureau health plans serving Tennesseans for the last 75 years. And a lot has changed in Tennessee over the years, but some things have always stayed the same. One of those things is Farm Bureau health plans valuing personal relationships, especially when it comes to good health and good service. Plan on Farm Bureau health plans for health, dental, and vision. So for better rates, better coverage, and better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ or walk into one of their 200 plus locations across the state.
We're also brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. If you sign up with our bonus code ATOZ Sports today, they're going to give you up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Sam, you alluded earlier to the fact that the Titans are big underdogs in this one, opened as 8.5-point road dogs against the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know. That's a lot of points. I think the number has come down, but we're still sitting just north of that touchdown. If you have a lean on that and you'd like to bet with BetMGM, you don't have to worry about the Titans letting you down as long as you sign up using our bonus code ATOZ Sports, because if you bet on the Titans and then they get killed, get your money back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, this is probably BetMGM is the only time all year you won't have to worry about the Titans letting you down is when.
That's right. This 1 week. So use it well. ATOZ Sports.
You get one shot at it. All right.
That's right.
This is an interesting topic, an interesting question. Like Easton said, this is the deadline. You're drawing a line in concrete here because if Will Levis is playing on Sunday, I want to know, what does it take for Will Levis to earn a chance to be the Titans starting quarterback in 2025? What will it take from Will Levis for him to earn a chance to be the Titans starting quarterback in 2025. You can get as creative as you'd like with this one. Can go statistics, can go record, can go vibes, whatever you want to do. What is it going to take? Because Easton, I think you would agree with me that let's say he plays against the Chargers. He's going back in. The goal is for him not to come out. And the next time Will Levis is benched, it's over. This is your shot.
So I have I was thinking about this morning. I have a very specific, quantifiable answer. So if you don't mind, I'd actually like you to go first because I think
that's fine. I'll go to the chat first here for a little bit. Let's see. We can see because people are already flowing in with some of these answers. Let's see. We've got win the effing game. I don't think this is a one game sort of a thing. I'm kind of looking to clarify. Rest of the season, we're at the halfway point.
9 more games. The next 9 games.
If you've got 9 games, half of a season for Will Levis, what does he have to do to, earn a chance at that starting job next year? Ashley says he can't do it. Rashid says win 7 games.
Gotta go 7-2 down the stretch.
Is he
wins are not a quarterback
7-2
stat
down the stretch, or is he talking finish 7-10?
Okay, that's still 5-4 down the stretch. I don't know. Either way, wins are not a quarterback stat. People, stop
winning and no turnovers. Learn to read a defense post snap. 8 wins moving forward. Oh,
Louise. He's got to he gets one mulligan. He's got to win out.
They say the bar is in hell. The bar is like in heaven. The bar is like out of this world right now. Darren, this is a joke. 30 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 8 wins, and 1,500 yards.
Wow.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
I think he would earn the starting job if he did that.
I do. Hey, you guys are correct. 8 wins, efficient offense, minimal turnovers.
There we go. Good answer, Jesse.
Less turnovers while throwing 2 touchdowns in a game.
Fine answer.
3 games of 275 plus passing yards, less than 5 interceptions, and 4+ wins. This is very specific, and I respect it.
Sure. I mean, listen, in the 2024 landscape of quarterbacking, how many quarterbacks right now do you think this season, through 8 or 9 games, have 3 games of 275? It is not many of them.
6, maybe.
Yeah, I'll go look that up later. But cats just aren't throwing for 300 this year. They aren't doing it.
A lot of 250 out there. Yannick wants him to win 5 games minimum, win 6 straight games.
Bro.
I mean, a QBR rating over 50.
That bar's a little low. I think he needs.
Yeah, I mean, we're all over the map.
I think his current QBR might be over 50 on the season.
Jake, with just the general, show he can be trusted, not necessarily quantifiable, but show that he can be trusted.
Hey, that's smart by Jake because you can't necessarily disprove that. Jake's answer can't be definitively disproved. That's smart.
So I'll go Easton, and I will say, I will go with somebody in the chat.
Okay.
I think if you win 5 games down the stretch, and that might seem a little simpleton. And
5 of the remaining 9?
5 of the remaining games, which would 5-4 down the stretch. It finishes you at 7-10 on the season. And maybe that's a little, like I said, simpleton. And you're right, it is. And there are things that matter in there. Like, if he's throwing no touchdowns and a pick in every game and the Titans are winning 13-10 because,
right.
Different story.
Tony Pollard runs for 250 every week.
But in general, if we're getting solid Will Levis games and ups and downs that are to be expected, and he wins 5 games and you finish at 7-10, the reason I think he earns a chance at the job and maybe even earns the job is because I think it takes the Titans out of a position to replace him. What Will Levis needs to do to be the starting quarterback in 2025 is not give the organization an opportunity to replace him in the draft. If you lose a bunch of games and finish 4-13 and are picking in the top 10, you can bet your life that the Titans are going to be looking for a quarterback to be their guy. Brian Callahan is going to want a quarterback. What keeps Will competitive? Decent play, winning some football games. The Titans pick 15th in the draft. They don't have the pick to go and get one of the top quarterbacks. And then you're weighing, well, Will Levis or Sam Darnold or Will Levis or, and maybe you lean with the younger guy in that case. So I do think that it's winning games. And when I look back historically at some of these year 2 quarterbacks, the difference is what opportunity your team has to replace you. If you are, and I've done this before with day 2 quarterbacks that have 4 years on their rookie deal, that don't have a 5th-year option, that get replaced after year 2. Some of them are Desmond Ridder, who are then able to be replaced by are able to be replaced by an established veteran like Kirk Cousins. And I don't know how things are going to go and break around the league. If a Kirk Cousins becomes available and you're the Titans and you want to jump at it. But for a majority of them, they are replaced because they are in a spot where the team goes, yeah, you're okay. Maybe we can develop you, but we got a shot to reset the clock. We got a shot to get our guy. And so, I mean, you can look at,
or you're the Giants with Daniel Jones, and in this year's draft, all the quarterbacks get taken, and you're like, well, we really want to replace you, but we kind of can't. So.
And you're not in a position to do it. And so then you say, one more year, I guess. And then you look at an example of Chicago last year, right? And you're like, okay, Fields, maybe you develop Justin Fields a little bit more, but when you're in a position to get a guy, you go and you get a guy. The Texans with Davis Mills actually had looked okay and shown some flashes, but the team wasn't good. And you were looking at CJ Stroud and saying, I mean, come on, like, we're definitely going to draft a guy here. So win enough games to take the Titans out of the top 10. I think you got a shot to be the QB next year.
So before I give my answer, I'm glad that was your answer, because a big, I kind of had 2 different points to my answer. One is what I'm going to share in a minute, a direct comparison to somebody that we all watched last year become the guy that we'll get to in a second. But as for your answer, I have a question for you on your answer first.
Yeah, go ahead.
It sounds like there are kind of 2 elements to your answer, and I'm curious which one you think matters more. Because technically our question here is, what does he have to do to prove that he's the guy? Prove that he deserves a shot to be the guy next year, right? And with your answer, somebody in the comments giving me a hard time where, Brandon says, did Easton just say that wins aren't a quarterback stat? No saving that take. Not a take. That's a fact. Ask every player, coach, GM, ask every single person in the NFL. They'll tell you wins are a team stat. It's a team sport. Does the quarterback have a big part to play in the wins and losses? Absolutely. Probably more than any other single player on the team. If anything, just people that are actually like stat nerds, wins are kind of a coach stat more than anything else. But wins are not a quarterback stat. That being said, this season, there's a narrative element to this for sure. And so, like, winning does matter for a quarterback, whether or not it's fair to pin a win on a quarterback or not. It matters to people. It totally does.
Yeah.
And it matters to, an owner who's maybe making decisions. But as for your answer, part of it sounds like, well, if he wins, he'll be playing probably relatively well. And that's the prove it element, that he's proving he's improving, right? But there's also the element to your answer of, well, whether or not he proves it or not, if he wins the games, they're out of position and it becomes an opportunity cost situation. So how much of your answer is about him proving he deserves a shot versus kind of forcing them to not be able to replace him?
I mean, I do think it dumb cop out, but right. I do think it's a little bit of both, because I think the wins are implying Levis improvement, which I think therefore could earn him another shot in 2025. But then of course there's because think of the 2 other extremes, right? So if the assumed result is that wins equal better performance from Will Levis, we don't know how good, but better.
Right.
So now we have a better Will Levis and more wins, and that leads to him potentially earning a shot. Let's take both extremes of the other scenario, where Will Levis looks very improved, but they keep losing. If Will Levis looks improved and they keep losing, I still think he gets replaced, because I think you're in position to grab a young quarterback in the draft. I think they will do it, and I think they should do it. Let's take the other side.
Right.
If Will Levis plays horrible and they win a bunch of games and are not in position to draft a quarterback, I think they will move on a veteran placeholder and replace him that way regardless.
So that's the
So
hypothetical I want to ask you is like, let's say that the opportunity cost isn't a factor that they, and I don't think it's going to happen, but let's just say he wins 5 games the way that you want him to. They get to the end of the year. They're not in draft position to replace him via draft, but there is a suitable, affordable Kirk Cousins-y guy out there. Do they on the back of those 5 wins say Levis is the guy, or do they say go get the guy?
It's a dangerous question for me because every time I'm asked about this, there's a big difference for me in quarterbacks. I think there is a difference in a Kirk Cousins versus a Sam Darnold. If there's a Kirk Cousins out there,
we talked about this last time you and I were on the show. Yeah.
If there's a Kirk Cousins out there, I'm all in. Go get him. You can win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. You cannot win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. And I think there is a big difference there. So that to me is like, would I rather have Will Levis play next year or Jameis Winston? I don't really care.
Sure.
I think there's a clear downside of signing it. I think there's a clear downside of signing a Sam Darnold because you're going to win more games than you maybe would with Will Levis, but then you're again not in position to get the quarterback with a quarterback that's not the future answer of your team. So I'm seeing people say Derek Carr. I'm seeing people say Matt Stafford.
But I think you answered your question there, because if a Kirk Cousins style guy who you believe is like the worst quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with, is that fair? Like Kirk Cousins represents the kind of the bottom of the can win a ring with this guy list, which is still it's a rare air to be in, but he's at the bottom. It sounds
I'm higher
like
on Kirk Cousins than you probably are, but
I mean, I think Kirk Cousins, when healthy, is like a top 12 quarterback in the league. So I don't know. Does that sound
pretty
about right
safely, I would say. But
yeah. It sounds like the Levis winning 5 games wouldn't actually do it for you in terms of genuine belief in him becoming the guy at some point.
I mean, it has to be paired with some production as well.
I'm just trying to get to the heart of the question, because I think the heart of the question is, can he prove to you and make you in your heart believe again this season? I think that's the heart of our question, is what can he do to make you deep down think, oh my gosh, he might actually be a guy?
Well, if we've been able to establish the fact that this team is not good on paper, that this roster is not all that good, that, this offense is broken in many ways, and it's a very flawed team. If down the stretch, Will Levis is able to have, and I hate doing he needs this number, that number, this number, right? Because
I'm kind of about to, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. But it's very difficult because it's obviously not that.
There's no context, right? There's no context.
If Will Levis is able to be more productive and be obviously that involves taking better care of the football, not being super reckless with
that's
the football.
Step 1.
And he's able to really operate within this offense to put up 23 to 24 points a game and have a little bit of more success, and they win 5 games and on what we already know is a flawed team, that absolutely instills belief in me that it is more to come and he can be the guy. Because the difference between a Will Levis and a Derek Carr, or a Will Levis and whoever you're talking about in free agency potentially being available, is that I still think there's room to grow with Will Levis. There is still an opportunity to mold him. There is still an opportunity to have a ceiling. And so, if you're weighing the opportunity cost and the benefit of Levis versus veteran that we can bring in to run our offense. But maybe the Titans sit back for a minute and think, well, it's like this, and Levis has a ceiling. So that's kind of where I go in it. But I'm probably also very inconsistent and hit or miss depending on what quarterback you show me. Because if you say Derek Carr, I probably say no thanks. And if you say Matt Stafford,
oh, no, definitely. You don't want Derek Carr here. Come on.
No, I know, right? That's why I'm like, Derek Carr, I say no thanks. Matt Stafford, I probably say hell yeah. So it's
I definitely say hell yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's but people will throw them in the same bucket and be like, but if you get Matt Stafford, I'm like, he's old, but 2 years of Matt Stafford would be fun.
Talk about a guy people have not been watching. Matt Stafford has been playing top 5 NFL quarterback ball this year.
And that Rams team, look out for that Rams team.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Now that
The
they're a little healthy.
NFC is a mess, and
Mhm.
if the Rams get in, look out.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but I think that's a testament to their quarterback is with Matt Stafford. You're
Yeah.
not really ever dead with Matt Stafford and Sean
Although I
McVay.
will say, I think Matt Stafford is like Brian Callahan's least favorite style of quarterback ever.
I don't know.
Mr.
Brian Callahan coached him. They know each other.
True, but I do think Mr. High Completion Percentage, take your checkdowns, doesn't exactly love Matt Stafford's epic Cooper down there somewhere. Like,
I don't know. I think old man
Puka.
Stafford has slowly become that a little bit. I think in his younger days, I'm with you. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, Stafford is always going to have a little bit of Puka down there somewhere to him, I feel like.
It's
but
true,
you know
but if
what?
you're good at it, then the coach can't get me mad. And Matt Stafford's good at it. So I don't know. I'll answer the question, which I've danced around here and teased plenty.
Before you do.
Okay.
Bone and Joint Institute.
Oh, that's
we
right.
got to talk about the Bone and Joint Institute.
Okay.
So, we talked enough about my opinion that we can now tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Go to boneandjointtn.org because whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust. The Bone and Joint Institute, located in Franklin, with over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury, state-of-the-art rehab facility as well to help with your recovery. Clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, rehab, all under one roof, right off the highway, accessible. Schedule your appointment, boneandjointtn.org.
We're also brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Got to sign up today on the BetMGM app using our bonus code, ATOZ Sports. They're going to give you up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not cash. So go and sign up today at the BetMGM app with our bonus code, ATOZ Sports. BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Okay, so my answer.
Yeah.
I teased that this is a direct comparison to somebody last year. And again, the way that I approach this question is, what can, if anything, Will Levis do in the next 9 games to make me, Easton Freeze, deep down in my soul, believe this guy could be a starter? Because there was a point in my life not too long ago where I did deep down believe that. I no longer do. But that spark, that fire can be reignited, but it's going to take him being Jordan Love down the stretch. Think back to last year. Think back to the final 9 games of Jordan Love's 2023 season, because he's a guy that we didn't talk much about through October and September and October, right? It was the back half where you're like, ooh, look, the Packers, do they have a guy? Jordan Love coming on, looking good, getting him into the playoffs. Oh, scary. Maybe one of the worst teams you want to face in the playoffs right now because they're getting hot at the right time. Is that a really lofty bar? Yes, but I think it's, listen, statistically, I don't think it's as lofty as you think it is. I'm about to run through some of the numbers for him.
I mean, I'm looking at Jordan Love's game logs down the stretch, weeks 11 and on.
No, hang on. I've got the numbers. Don't take my thunder here.
Right.
I'm about to share.
I didn't know you had
Yeah, no. I came prepared. Don't worry. Down the stretch, weeks 9 through the rest of the season, his final 9 games, just like we're talking about with Will Levis here. 68% completion percentage, completed 217 out of 319 passes. Just shy of 2,500 yards in those 9 games. So averaging 271 a game. Through 20 touchdowns in his final 9 games. That's just over 2 touchdowns a game. 3 interceptions down that stretch, which if I had to pick the thing on this list that will be hardest for Will Levis to replicate, it is that, right? Throwing 0.3 interceptions a game for the remaining 9 games. That would go a long way for him in getting another shot. Average quarterback rating of 108.4, and he took 12 sacks. That's 1.3 sacks per game. That's another sneaky, difficult thing, I think, for Will Levis to replicate. His average yards per attempt, by the way, 7.7, so pushing the ball downfield as well. I think that is exactly for me. There's a couple of things in there that are slightly different situationally. Like in terms of total yards per game passing, I think just the way that the NFL works right now and the way this offense wants to work, he doesn't quite have to be at, the 275 mark every game, but I'd say maybe we're like 250. You need to have more 200, 250 games than you do 150 games, which we've seen from Will Levis so far. And the biggest thing for me is throwing touchdowns and not interceptions and not taking sacks. Those 3 things can go the longest for me. But it's going to take a lot. Is it fair? Maybe not, but I think it's the reality. And I think for a lot of fans, it would take a Jordan Love back half of 2023 run to reignite that spark of faith for Will Levis.
I mean, you also included week 10 against Pittsburgh, where Love went 21 for 40 with two touchdowns, but 2 picks in that game. So you loop that in. Week 11 and on, he had 18 touchdowns and 1 interception and a completion percentage around 70%. So
well, hey, but
your
that's
bar,
fair. Jordan, I'm affording Will Levis one bad game. He gets one stinker.
oh,
the
I know.
remainder of the
No,
year.
looping in the bad game is fine, but your
Well,
bar
I didn't
still,
loop it in just for the sake of my argument. I just went with the
your
final
bar
9
is
games.
Will Levis
I
has
picked
to
the
be
final
the
9
best
games.
quarterback in football for the back half of the year.
I don't think best quarterback in football is necessarily the point I'm making. Statistically is what I'm looking at. I think the production needs to resemble this. I do. But again, this isn't, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm definitely not going to say that.
I mean,
I'm just saying in order for him to have a shot at being the guy we're all okay with going into 2025 with, I think it needs to be, it doesn't have to exactly be that, but it's got to be close, man. I think it has to be close. And the biggest things on there for me are touchdowns, interceptions, and sacks. Those tell the entire story. I actually don't even care about the rest of the stats.
What if it's 12 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and the Titans win 4 or 5 games and he has a bunch, not a bunch, but like three games or so of like 250, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and they win.
Yeah, that's
right.
the context.
It's not Jordan Love.
Right.
It would end the season statistically with 17 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, which I don't think is too far off from what we maybe anticipated from Levis. I mean, yeah, Austin is correct. I think that just says how far down you are on Levis.
But am I further down than anybody else?
I think so. I think if you're requiring MVP level of play, legit, and like statistically, I know you said statistically, that's an MVP season. What Jordan Love did for the back half of 2023.
So I don't think those numbers are necessarily MVP.
Half a season throwing 18 touchdowns.
The touchdown number is the only number I look at and say that's MVP numbers.
Yeah, I mean,
totally. 20 touchdowns in his final 9 games. That is MVP.
That was pacing to throw 36 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. That's an MVP season.
Sure. I get it. To kind of clarify Austin's point about how far down I am, I don't necessarily think that's fair because I'm not answering it about if I was the coach, what I would do. I think the heart of the question here is, what is it going to take for it to happen? For Amy Adams-Strunk to be okay with it, for the fans to not revolt over it, for Rand Carthon to not be compelled to go get another quarterback, for Brian Callahan to stake his job, maybe his only shot ever to be a head coach in the NFL, on Will Levis again. And I think that bar is high. Whether or not in my fantasy world of where I can't get fired and I make all the decisions and no one can tell me otherwise, what I would do with Will Levis from a developmental standpoint, that doesn't matter. It matters what must happen for it to actually happen in the real world, which I think is a really high bar.
Yeah, I think you are right about that. As much as we can talk about patience within the organization, this idea that everybody's going to be patient with Will and Miss Amy's going to be patient with Rand and with Callahan and it's, everybody's chilling. Those losses.
That ends in January.
I mean, it ends now in some capacity.
No.
I mean,
they are patient
not
now.
Like they're going to be patient with Levis for the rest of the year.
Yeah, till January.
I don't think Amy Adams-Strunk is going to fire Brian Callahan after one season. But even if there is this patient approach and you come out next year and you're not winning games, I think she's ready to win some freaking football games. And she's going to make changes if you're not winning. And so to that point, like you said, it is, hey, if you're Brian Callahan, if you finish this year 4-13, your job is now in serious question heading into next year. And you need to find a quarterback that you believe can deliver some wins early and often for your football team, because that's the way that you are going to start building your resume as a head coach and proving yourself to your owner and, your fan base as somebody who's capable of doing this thing. And so if it is your one shot, and if it is now or never for Will Levis right now, next season will be now or never out of the gate for Brian Callahan and
maybe Rand Carthon.
And Rand Carthon, right. It would not be
the whole organization's on notice
to see one of those
Clear house. Just
4 weeks into the season, everybody's fired because, you
4 weeks
started.
is, ooh.
But we've seen it around the league so far, right? We've seen it this year in the league of
From dysfunctional
coaches.
organizations.
Well,
just saying, just putting that on record. Just getting it
no
out there.
comment. No
just
comment.
Just saying,
I
actions
agree.
dictate the reality.
I
here.
agree.
Yeah.
But,
And they would be proving one way or another with that kind of.
I think there is some
decision-making.
precedent to. Yeah, I mean, it's
I
not
don't know
like
about
it's not
precedent.
like mid-season general manager firings are below this organization.
In what in November, as you're talking about September clearinghouse is what you're.
I'm talking about. I mean, we have now seen the Jets fire a head coach 4 weeks into the season because
That wasn't 4 weeks into the season.
They were 2-2.
Where was it 4? Okay, so
Yes,
heading into week 5.
It was after their week 4 game. Robert Saleh got fired.
Well,
so
listen, dysfunctional organization.
I think when there's a lack of but patience had run out. Patience was done. Ready to win games, ready to make a change.
It still makes them dysfunctional.
I agree. Again, I agree. I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised.
I would be, but it would. I think we agree that if they did it, whether or not our opinions right now are, maybe they're, because you're alluding to, I kind of think they might be, and I don't think they are. But we would be in lockstep if and when that happened in saying, well, they proved it. They proved it. Yeah, exactly. So, but my last point of clarification here is the bar I'm setting for Levis the rest of the season is so lofty, not because it's fair to him or even necessarily a super attain, because, Jordan Love also the back half of last season, I don't know if you noticed, was playing on a much better football team than Will Levis. Like,
I hadn't.
Yeah. If you hadn't watched, that was the reality of it. And they were pretty good and young and didn't have many big holes. And
did they make life easy for quarterbacks?
A little bit, yeah. There's a recent quarterback that's proving that a little bit too. He spent some time here as well. There is an element of what he's done so far to this, right? There's a metaphorical hole that Will Levis has dug himself that goes a long way in making this be such a lofty thing. For example, if Will Levis had looked more like we've seen from Mason Rudolph the past 3 weeks in the games he played to begin the year, if he was just like boring, pretty safe with the ball, couple flashes, but overall you're like, this doesn't inspire me to be the guy of the future. I don't hate him, but like, what do I do with this guy? Then I don't think the bar would be that lofty. Right. If he was just flatlining. But the fact that he came into the year and you got to climb out of that, buddy, and you got to put up, you have to,
that's fair, right?
Jury so in this court case, we need to be left with no reasonable doubt on you. And that's going to be
heading into the season. I don't think my goals for Will Levis were super high or unreasonable.
Me neither.
I felt like I had a realistic expectation, but if your realistic expectation is right here, and he started right here, and he brought himself down here, well, now we got all this that we got to cover. We got a lot more room that we have to get back to the bar. The bar hasn't moved. The level of confidence you have to leave us at hasn't moved. You've just shifted perspective. I hear you for sure. Let's talk about level of confidence because Easton, I don't know what my level of confidence is in you right now because we're going to do sports trivia back-to-back days.
All right.
And we're going to get some answers. Austin Stanley and I did sports trivia yesterday. We crushed it. And I thought it was part of the course.
Heard you got a cupcake slate.
I haven't been around on Wednesday mornings recently, and I thought it was still par for the course for this podcast to absolutely crush sports trivia.
I don't know, chat.
But no,
did they get a cupcake yesterday? Let me know.
Huh?
I need the chat to let me know whether yesterday it was a cupcake or not. I think it was. That's what I've been told. Sources are saying.
Listen, I was told that you guys have been struggling. I had to come in and save things.
Austin's also overselling the struggle. We've missed like one question a week. We've not been getting murdered. Okay. It's just one tough miss.
Well,
Austin's dramatic. He's a little drama queen about this.
We'll see how this goes. We're going to see.
Austin's watching.
Austin asked the question yesterday. Am I the problem or is Easton the problem when the two of you can't figure it out? Maybe we'll get an answer today. So for back-to-back days. No magic bucket. Let's go to
Thank God.
sports trivia. Sports trivia. It's brought to you by our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. Make them part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Easton, I'm trying to will you go ahead and pull up the
I got you.
the
trivia.
other? All right, yeah. Here, well, I have trivia up. Just
you need me to let me grab the screen then for you.
if you'll assist me in that.
I got you.
And here
You
we
ready?
go. Yep. And there it is. All right. So I'm your trivia master today. We're looking at the categories, and let's get some categories in the chat.
We're doing NFL first. Where are we going next?
NFL first, and then Easton, you're just going to tell me which category to go to.
Oh wait, I just realized we have some super chats we didn't address. Should we just real quick?
We can do them. Yeah, sure. Well, we got King VZ saying lock in and like the show, which
always appreciate you, King. Hello, good morning,
our King. And by the way, not enough likes on the show, so we need to like the show.
Rookie numbers.
We are in trouble right now with the like numbers. Like the show. Listen to King VZ. We got Amnesia says way too many decent quarterbacks sitting on the bench out there to be trying to pick a QB in this weak QB draft class. Use the draft and trade for a QB. It is a relatively weak quarterback draft. I do think the top end of every quarterback draft is going to play regardless.
There's always a guy.
There's always a guy
usually,
or two.
That's not true. Kenny Pickett's here.
I think this is I don't think this is a difference in the Titans pick first overall, don't take a quarterback. The Titans pick fourth overall, don't take a quarterback. I think this is you're not going to get a quarterback at 12 that's worth anything versus
you're not getting Bo Nix in the early
right.
teens,
There is not or Justin Fields at 10th overall. Like there is not a guy that has a ton of upside that's going to be around outside of the top 10. And I think that's the big difference between this quarterback class and maybe what we've seen in years past. Andre comes in, says Levis gets 25. If Arch announces in 26, he'll hate Levis even more if he leads us deeper into purgatory by middling at best. I don't think you can make your quarterback decision about Arch Manning, but
I'll also go ahead. Let me just fire off a take. Let me get on the record here on November 7th. I think Arch Manning's going to stay in school. I think 27 for Arch Manning.
Very possible. I think he comes out, but who knows what the Mannings are going to do.
Those traditionalists, the Mannings, they do their own thing.
They operate at their own.
They value in education.
I think Arch Manning. I can't wait for the Arch Manning sweepstakes because whoever get the tank that goes on between a handful of organizations to get Arch Manning.
It might be the most egregiously open tank off.
Is it bad if I want him to just go to the New York Giants and have a second Manning for the Giants? I think that would be kind of cool.
No, I mean, I that's fair. I mean, it would probably not be ideal for him because
just give me him in a cool market. I don't want Carolina Arch Manning or you know what I mean? Give me something a little exciting.
Yeah, that's fair. Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Arch Manning.
Right. That's snooze. All right, let's get into it.
What's our second topic here? Did we get an answer?
I see some snacks and
movies and snacks and candy. So let's do that.
So that's where we'll go, and then we will go. I'll bounce around. All right, are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
Part of a famous football family, this Hall of Fame offensive lineman played his entire career with the Oilers/Titans. This is Bruce Matthews.
I was about to say Bruce.
Well, I should probably just type Bruce.
Spell Matthews right? Yep.
Matthews, which boo him right now. Movies. Amy Adams, Patrick Dempsey, and James Marsden starred in this 2007 musical fantasy romantic comedy. This is Enchanted.
Enchanted. Yeah.
Great movie.
Good movie.
Where are we going? Snacks and candy.
Snacks and candy.
This brand of ice cream uses an ice cream cone in place of an apostrophe in its name on its logo and is known for the half the fat slow churned variety. I don't know what this is, but is it what is it? Benny's or something no.
Half the fat, slow churned variety. Might need the comments to help.
Looking in the chat here, I don't know. Eddie's, yes, Eddie's.
Okay, yeah. I'm not super up on my ice cream brands apparently.
All right, music. You shoot me down, but I get up. Bulletproof, nothing to lose. Fire away, fire away. This is Titanium.
Titanium
by Sia. Television, originally running on Fox Kids from 92 to 95,
Oh,
this
God.
animated superhero series featured voice roles for Kevin Conroy, Bob Hastings, Mark Hamill. I have no clue.
Oh, Mark Hamill was the Joker in a Batman series. Fox Kids.
Was it called? Was it called Batman, or was it?
It was a Batman show. Was it just called Batman?
Batman the animated series is what the chat is saying here. Batman the animated series. There we go. Boom.
Let's go.
Geography. Khmer is the official language, and Phnom Penh is the capital of this Asian country. This is Cambodia.
Good for you, man.
Geography B. This is Billie Eilish and Billy Joel.
Billy Joel. You have to say Billy. That is a cursed mix-up, by the way.
Yeah, that's a tough. That's a tough. Tough look there. College football. Tyler Bray. That's a Tennessee Volunteer.
Tennessee Volunteer.
And MLB. Jeremy Hellickson is a Tampa Bay Ray. I think Austin Stanley's the problem.
Is that an all-time record? 9 for 9, under 210? Come on. Chat, some love here, please. We crushed that.
Chat, good pull on the Batman, Easton. Chat comes with Batman animated series.
We only needed help on the ice cream. That's the only one we didn't know. The ice cream was the only one we didn't know. We needed a little help on.
Eddie's was, yeah.
I didn't know that one. I'll be honest. Had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I will say some of these I did feel like I thought this was an easier round than the one we got yesterday. I mean, we literally got Bruce Matthews and Tyler Bray as our NFL.
Listen, I don't care though. This morning I was giving Austin a hard time for you and him getting an easy slate yesterday. And he said doesn't matter. So for Austin now to complain that it was so easy, doesn't matter. Sorry, luck of the draw.
I will do a hand up. We got Billie Eilish and Billy Joel.
That was easier than year one yesterday. That's fair. But we knew it.
Which is easier than Lawrence Fishburne and Jeffrey Wright. We got a Tennessee quarterback and a Titans offensive lineman. I will say, and I don't know how this goes. He's saying this didn't solve anything. Sam is the champ. I will say, if I'm not here, I think MLB and geography, which are like my two best categories, the Cambodia and Tampa Bay Rays probably give
those the two I would have had to lean on the chat for sure.
Yeah, those are probably two questions with fits for the group.
I don't know. Jake says I'm a good scramble partner. I think that's true. Listen,
dude, you crushed. The Batman knowing Mark Hamill as Batman animated series is
if Mark Hamill wasn't in the answer, I wouldn't have known. But that's the only voice acting role that I know Mark Hamill has. So that's certainly
not
my best
in my
forte
there. Though. So
I've never watched the show. I think I've just seen it on a TikTok or something. So, but I don't know. I think the numbers don't lie. The results are the results, and Austin has to take the L here. If somebody's the problem, it's Austin, clearly. And he's not here to defend himself, so that makes it even easier.
He's in the chat defending himself. Give you guys a good old look at that.
That is the most cursed mashup that I've seen in doing these.
Oh, you need to see more mashups.
I guess not, but that's a rough one, man.
This one almost just looks like Billy Joel.
If you really caked him up with some makeup.
Yeah, if I cross my eyes here, I'm like, oh yeah, that's just Billy Joel.
If I really squint, it is kind of Billy Joel-y. But I don't like it at all. I really don't.
Somebody says
I think it's something about the very feminine lip glossed lips followed by the old man goatee is throwing me.
I found this comment very funny.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it, but not wrong.
Gave me a chuckle. All right, that's all we got for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in. Keep it locked on A2ZSports.com. Written content. We'll have a press conference coming up later this afternoon with Titans offensive coordinator Nick Holtz, defensive coordinator Denard Wilson, and see if special teams coordinator Colt Anderson can conduct himself a little bit better than he did last time.
Come on.
Leave a like on the show before we go. Till next time, tighten up. We'll see you later.